Okay, maybe you're wondering what Tableau is all about. So I want to do a quick demonstration and show you how to create some of the basic plots. I'm going to start with this weather data that I downloaded from NOAA. I basically just went in and pulled daily totals for precipitation, snowfall, and min and max temperatures. And I just randomly chose the time period of September of 1931 through September of 2021. So that came in a big CSV file, which we'll look at here in a second. We're going to connect to a database. Out of habit, I just go here, and I'm in the right spot. So it's called Logan Weather. Okay, so we've got a station name, Logan, Utah. It's actually USU's weather station. And our date is organized in a couple of different ways. In Excel, I broke this down. So we've got the date as one unit, and then I broke it down to day, month, and year. So those are pulled out. We've got precip, snow. This is snow depth and temperature, min and max. The precipitation is in inches, snowfall is in inches, and T, max, and min are in Fahrenheit. And I had to go digging for those. I went back to the NOAA website and looked for documentation because it's not here in the column names. Okay, so let's just dig in and see what we can do with this data. First of all, I want to show you how to build a histogram, and we'll just look at, I don't know, let's look at temperatures, I guess. The Show Me button kind of gives you what you can try with one measured value selected. This is the histogram button. Let's press that, and it builds it for you automatically. So basically, we have temperatures here from 0 up to, I don't know, well over 100 it looks like. And it's showing us that we have kind of a bimodal distribution of temperatures. If we just counted how many days had a temperature between 40 and 50, there are 5,268 of those. You can mess around with the bin size, which is a good idea because you don't often get a bin size that is completely right on for you. You can see over here that it made a T-max bin for us. This is organized where these are the dimensions typically, and these are the measured values. And you can see that, you know, all the date stuff and the station, those are all up here in the dimensions. Those are our categorical values, and then our continuous or our measured values are down in the bottom here. Precip, snow depth, max and min temp. So I can go into this bin that was created for us and edit it. And you'll see here that we've got the size of the bin, and it made it 9.5, which is a little bit awkward. We'd want that to be 10, but why don't we just mess around and make it 20? And if we increase our bin size, we lose that bimodality, and now we just have that between 40 and 60 is our most common temperature over the course of our record from 1931 to 2021. And then if we go back in and edit that again and maybe make it 5, now that bimodality comes back and we have even more information about it. So it's pinned down even more. The most common temperatures on average are in the 40s and 85 degrees. So winter, summer, something like that. That's the maximum temperatures. We could do the same thing with the min temperatures, but let's move on to something a little bit more complicated. Okay, so let's open a new sheet. That's how you do that. And let's look at precipitation. So what can we do with precip? Let's look. So we could build a histogram, just like we did for temperatures. Let's try making a bar chart. This, we could maybe look at temperatures over time. So choose horizontal bars, and then we want to see a hierarchy here. We've got the date, day, month, but let's make it month and year. So I just dragged year up and laid it on top of month, and now we have this built thing. And we can drag this up to the rows. And now we have the precipitation and month. That's a really weird way of looking at it. So this button here just swaps the two axes. And so now we have months over time. So this would be all of January's from 1931 up through 2021, all the February's. And what we're doing is summing the precipitation, but we might want to just see the average precipitation for January, the average precipitation for February. Maybe that's what we want to see. But you can see here that in the spring, April, we have the highest precips and the lowest precip in July, and then a smaller peak again in the fall, in October. And that makes pretty decent sense, I think, for what we expect to see. You can certainly put this back to sum. Okay, but this is summing all of the January's precipitation over the record. So you have to be a little bit careful about how you're decoding these values here. Precipitation in inches, but this is from 1931 to 2021. We've received over 140 inches of precip just in January. So you have to be a little bit careful about that. Okay, what if we add snowfall to this? So we could just add snowfall by dragging it next to precip, and notice that it builds two plots over time. We can combine those into one by right-clicking and just dropping down this, I guess it's not a right-click, left-clicking to drop this down, and you choose dual axis. And it overlays the two lines, automatically gives them two different colors, and now you have your axes labeled on the right and the left. That's called a dual axis. You can go in and change these colors. You don't have to obviously take the defaults, and if I teach you nothing else this semester, it's to never accept the defaults. Okay, question everything. All right, so there's a dual axis overlaying snowfall with precip, and honestly I went back and looked to see what the difference is, like is the snowfall included in precipitation totals, and I ran out of time. I need to get this recorded, so hopefully I'll get that figured out by the time you're watching this. All right, so that's a line chart, a continuous plot over time. A line is appropriate because we do have measurable things between every single data point. Like between January and February is time, and there is the ability to measure stuff between there. So a line is an appropriate way of looking at. But let's maybe look at precipitation just over time in general. So again, we can select precip. And let's go back to our horizontal bars. Let's just look at year. So we can take year and drag that to rows. Again, so why does it default to horizontal bars? Because they're just easier to read. If you're looking at one measured thing, it's almost always easier to label these if they're horizontal. It's really old-fashioned to have vertical bars. Now, when you do need to have vertical bars is when your x-axis is time, because we read time left to right. So that's when you'd really want to switch this. And because we do have time, we're going to switch it. So from the earliest to the most recent, this is how precipitation has folded out over time. Let's see here. It's the sum of precip. So in 1931, we had a total of 6 inches. That's not very much. I think the average for Utah is maybe between 15 and 20 inches per year. So this makes sense to me, that this is kind of the rolling, or what you'd perceive to be kind of the average. We had a really wet year in 1983. This doesn't look so good, but we're not done with it yet, are we? The cyclicity is kind of interesting, isn't it? So from 1968, 1969, 1970, 71, 72, 73. I mean, it's kind of an interesting cycle that seems to appear. Let's see, what else do we want to learn about this? Yeah, I think that we could add, let's just try adding another variable in here and see what happens. Okay, let's dual access it. Okay, so here's our temperature and our precip. So summing our precipitation for each year makes sense. That gives us a total precip per year. But does summing our temperature make sense? Not really. If we're looking at the temperature for a month, we really don't want to add all the temperatures together, or for a year, sorry. So let's change that guy to an average. I think that makes a lot of sense. This just adjusted over here, our axis. And so now you can see we have a fairly consistent average temperature over the course of a whole year. So averaging out summers to winters, approximately 60 degrees. And, we can go through and pull these out. Yeah, okay, so what else can we learn about? I'm kind of scrolling through my notes here. Scatter plots. Let's play with a scatter plot, just so you can kind of see how to make those. So to get the show me, to bring up the scatter plot option, you have to pick two measured variables. So let's say we want to see precip against max temp. So I'm going to use the control key to select those both, and now scatter plot becomes an option for us. And what does this say? We don't want just the year, we want to break it down. That didn't help. Let's see here. We definitely don't want, I just removed that. Okay, so it's built the graph for us, built the plot, put our axes there, and it's treating everything as one observation. And that's because these are being treated as kind of a continuous thing, and they're being binned for us or aggregated for us. We're looking at averages and sums. And so the way to get a scatter plot to work, there's a couple different ways. One, we can change them both to dimensions where they're just treated like observations. Okay, so here's each raw observation. We have high precipitation values and their corresponding temperatures. So here we had a temperature of 48, and on this one day we got almost 2 inches of rain. Another 2 inches of rain, warmer temperature. So you can kind of see the distribution makes sense. We have a lot of low or zero precipitations, lots of those, and very few high precipitation days. They seem to be happening between 40 and 80 degrees Fahrenheit. So this kind of makes sense. This guy must be some kind of typo. That's really cold. Okay, so that's one way. Like I said, I'm going to Control Z to back up. The other thing that you can do that's kind of neat. So here's our date, right? We can drag our date to the detail. And what that does is right now it's aggregated by year, because that's the largest aggregation. And so for each year right now, we're looking at an average temperature and a summed precip. So for the year, whoops, I just touched my screen. For this one, for example, over this year so far, 2021, we've only seen 6 inches of rain. Back in 1931, 6.3 and 6.03. I'm like, wait, what? That's crazy. Doesn't look the same. Okay, 1984, the average temperature for the year is 54, which makes sense because that's our 55. We already looked at how 60 was about the average for a year. And precip, we got 23.5 inches. This was 1983. This is a crazy wet year for Utah, or for Logan. Okay, so, but what's really cool about this is, see this little plus sign? You can click on this and it disaggregates. And the first thing it gives us is quarter, which is pretty cool because quarter would be, like January, February, March, and then April, May, June. So you can drag this to color, which is pretty cool. First quarter, winter, and then this would be fall, winter, spring, summer, fall, right? I think that's pretty cool. But then you can keep disaggregating. I might have to redo that, hang on. So quarter, and then you can break down quarter to month. So these would be monthly sums of our precip, but average temperatures, because that's how we have it set up here. And then we can disaggregate even more and look at it by day, and hopefully this looks familiar to you, like the first plot we made when we broke them down from measurements to dimensions. So I think this is really slick. And I wonder if we can even do that. Oh, you can. So I'm just dragging the quarter pill up to the color, and it's taking, again, the quarters and coloring them for us. Now it's a bit of a mess. What if we changed our axis to only show like 10 through, let's try that. So I'm going to right click, edit the axis, and I'm going to go to fixed, and we're going to start with 10. Whoops, let's see if that spreads things. And then let's just change this to 90 because we can. Maybe that's a little bit squished at the 90 end. Yeah, I guess fall is really hidden. Well, we could mess around with, I wonder if we could take quarter and put it to size. Oh, well, that's really ugly. My idea was if we could drag it to size and color, which I think we can, we could make spring, oh, I keep calling this the wrong thing, the blue ones spring smaller so that they're not hiding the green. So this is the kind of thing that we will be getting into on the second part of the semester, how you show this data in a logical way. And it would include not hiding all of, and that would mean figuring out how to display this where we're not hiding fall with all the blue spring values. All right, that's 4 basic types of plots in Tableau. Go experiment.